Hi, this is Charlene Turner again. I'm going to be a little bit different today. On this video, we're going to make little turtles. Not the cane work, but there's cane work involved in it. If you want to make some canes to go along with this, you can refer back to the 4-part series on how to make a simple cane. And that'll help you to make simple kaleidoscope canes that you can use on the turtle. So I'm going to move these little guys out. You can see where I use some cane work. Whoops. And they have cute little expressions. These guys do really well at the craft shows for me. And I kind of get tired of making them sometimes, but the kids and the adults adore them. So what you're going to start off with first is about a 2.5 inch strip of tin foil from the full length of a sheet of tin foil. And I'm going to take that and roll it up into a little ball. And I'm going to move some of my stuff out of the way here. So I just rolled it up into a little ball, and then I start flattening it out a little bit, like this. Trying to smooth it down a little bit so I don't have too many bumpy edges on it, and kind of make it into a little oval shaped ball. So there you go. So I set that aside for a second. Now in this video I said there was some cane work involved. What I did was make a simple kaleidoscope, and when I know that looks pretty intricate, but it is a simple kaleidoscope. I started off with this, and if you can see, if you've done some just simple round canes, that's all it was. I threw a whole bunch of extra cane pieces that I had together, and then I turned it, rolled it, flattened it into a triangle, and then put the pieces together. And again, you can refer to the 4-part video. So next step is I cut some slices off. Made one a little bit thicker, probably 1/3 of an inch thick, and maybe 1/4. So what I start out with is I take this one, the thicker one, and I flatten it out some. Now there's a little bit of like a pinhole in the center there. That's okay, because this cane was fairly fresh. And I can just keep pushing it back together so you don't see it when I get done. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to push it down, try to get this somewhat even on all sides. And then I'm just going to keep working this around till it's on there. Again, you see I still have that little bit of a hole there, but I'll fix that in a minute here. I'm going to take my bottom piece, because you want to cover up the tin foil, and I'm going to start putting these shells together. And you can tuck under the edge if you really don't want that showing. But it's kind of fun to be able to pick up these turtles and see the patterns on the top and the bottom. Fix my little hole up there. Remember, the expression in these makes them more cute than necessarily the turtle shell. So there I go. I have a turtle shell. Now I make a roll of clay. I have a lot going here. You can probably see. I'll just pan out. I'm going to make about 6 of them today. I have a craft show this weekend. So I just made a simple log of the green clay. And these are going to be our little legs. These guys are about, let's see, about a 1/2 inch by maybe 2/3 of an inch. So I'll roll it out a little bit and roll it into a ball. And then start just oval shaping it. So I got like the little leg. And do that to all, whoops, all 4 of these. And yes, I can work two-handed sometimes. Roll them out. And as you can tell, I'm a lefty. Just to let you know, I've been working on clay since I was in my 20s. I'm now 60. Started working with salt dough, and this is way before polymer clay came out, salt dough, and then I moved to a clay that's called bread dough, where you actually took a loaf of bread, stripped off the crust, and added Elmer's glue to it, and then you added acrylic paint for color, and they air dried. So that was kind of my first foray, and back then I did a lot of little figures, a lot smaller than this. So anyways, we have our 4 legs. And what you do now, I notice I've got 2 that are a little bit big, so I'm going to make them the back legs, and these are about the same size. So I'm going to connect the legs by just putting them on the bottom. And decide where you want kind of the front part of the shell and the back part of the shell. So, and then I'm going to push it down so my legs are in there. Take a little bit of piece of, because I always like adding tails. Little tiny pea size. Roll that out to make a little tail. Add that on the bottom. And we have a little tail. So this piece is going to be our head, and this one's a good 3/4 of an inch. You get to play with these, and you'll kind of know what size you need. You might find it a little bit bigger. You just, again, we're going to roll that down to a ball. You can just cut off the excess. Hang on, I'm going to do this behind me because I need 2 hands for the bigger one. Ball, and again the same, squeeze one end so you've got a nice round head. Well, this guy's gonna have a big head if I keep this up, so I'm gonna roll it down just a little bit smaller. I never really know until I get the clay into my hands how big I want this. I'll fix these legs before we get done here. Let's see, that's not bad. Now, I know I've got a lot of excess clay on this one. I don't need that much clay, so I cut off a little bit. And I'm going to move the turtle up a little so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to flatten this. I'm going to tuck it up so we have a neck on this guy. And maybe just round off his head a little bit better. And I do the same thing I did with the feet. Attach his head to the bottom. Okay, so now we have our turtle. We'll fix the feet before we get done. I'll be flattening them out. So now the next thing I did, and you can do these very simply, was make, I did the next thing, I have these all lined up because I do a lot of these, is just take a simple roll of clay. You start with a light blue. You can do this with a light blue center, then a darker blue, black, and white. Well, my favorite is just a light blue center, darker blue with a little bit of black on the top of it. And these are going to be your eyes. So what I did was cut, let's move him back again a little bit, cut a couple of slices, probably, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch together. So you lay them on the table. This is going to be hard because I'm trying to see what I'm doing and look through the camera to make sure you can see what I'm doing. And just kind of make little eyeballs. And you can make them perfectly round, or in this particular case I made them kind of tucked up a little bit at the top. So there's the eyeballs. Now I took, there they are, 2 little tiny, very little black balls to make the center of the eye. Very little. And you can pop them on there. Make your expression any way you want to. Oops, back here. Trying to escape. You can put them in the center. Where do we want this today? Yeah, that's pretty good. And then flatten them down. You can make them as silly or not silly as you want. You can make those, usually I don't make, if you can see these, some of these eyes aren't quite that big. You can make your eyes a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. It depends on how silly you want it to be. So now my favorite handy dandy tools that I use to finish these guys, this is, oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit you, is this little nail, I don't know what you'd call it. It's usually in a nail kit. It's one of my, probably the all-time favorite tool I've ever used when it comes to little figures, because it's got a flat edge there and a round tip there. You can use a toothpick, you can use whatever. I also have this carving kind of tool thing that I use. So this is going to be interesting to try to do through the camera lens. So right now I'm just flattening the feet. And I have to do, I figure I'm going to do a couple of these so that they're turned back, so they're more like sea turtle flippers. So now I live in Florida, there's a lot of sea turtles around, and then I just take this end and just put some little indentations to show that we definitely have a foot. So, and they don't have to be perfect, because what people are really looking at is the expression on your turtle's face. Now, the next thing I do is I take this little tool. That one's so old that I'm going to use the ball tool, because this one's so old and beaten up that I've like dulled this tip way down. So I'm just going to make two little holes for nostrils. 1, 2. Here's a little nostril. Now I'm going to try not to beat this up in the process of doing this in front of the camera, because kind of tough to see what I'm doing. So this is my little sharp tool, or again, if you've got one of these that's not as dulled out as mine, you can really see the tips gone. You can make just little smile. Make a little indentation on the side if you wanted to give them kind of cheeks. So I hope this wasn't too difficult, and it's kind of fun. Silly turtles. I'm going to push his face back together a little bit there. Kaleidoscope, and again, if you want to, you're like, well, I'm not really good at cane work, you just take things like this. Just simple pieces of clay, and you can make really simple. I'm not going to push these together because I need the eyeballs, the blue ones, but put it together like this. Just simple canes. Turn it into a triangle, cut it into 3 pieces, and then take those 3 pieces, put them together, match up your pattern, cut that into 2 pieces, so you've got 2 pieces, put that together, and then just round it out for your kaleidoscope, and you've got a turtle shell to work with. So the final last part of this is just baking them. So what you do is you pop this guy in the oven. Now you could put, if you didn't want to put tin foil here, you could put a good solid piece of clay, a round piece of clay like this. However, make sure, even with this guy, because these are pretty thick, you can see the size of my hand, this is a pretty thick piece of clay. You need to bake at least an hour in the oven. I would do an hour. You don't have to do much more than that. I'm in the oven, let them cook for an hour, let them totally cool down, and you have your first little turtle. I hope you like this. Let me know if you do. Have a great afternoon, and thanks for watching.